Okay, so we've got people coming into the meeting room. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, viewers. Thank you very much for joining. There's a lot of you coming in as we speak. Thank you so much. Wow, this is astounding. So many people are here this evening. Wonderful. It's about 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time on a Monday evening. So thank you very much for joining us. My name is Annie McCann. I am one of the co-founders of this amazing network called the Right Pen Collective. It was a network created to support, connect, and empower Australian Muslim writers based in all over Sydney or all over Melbourne, Queensland, all over Australia, basically in the hope of putting more books on the shelf that are written by Muslim writers. As our co-founders Ozge and Alkan say, to try and find more books by Muslim writers as commonly as we find Vegemite on our supermarket shelves. I love that saying. I say it all the time. So welcome everybody. There's still more people coming in. It's okay. Please come in, get comfortable. Just want to pay my respects first to the traditional custodians of the land in which we're streaming from today. I'm coming to you live from the land of the Darug people of the Eora Nation. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and acknowledging that the land that we are on is stolen land and sovereignty was not conceded. Just some housekeeping. I'd like to let everybody know once again that when we did send the email out through Eventbrite, the link and the access did actually advise you that our session is being recorded this evening. So if you do not want to be captured in that recording, by all means, please keep your camera off. We have everybody muted, so we're not interfering with everybody when we're talking, but we do encourage a lot of questions. If you have any questions, if you have any comments that you would like to share, please send them through to myself in the comments, in the chat section. My name is The Right Pen Collective. It should be on the top of your screen. I also just want to advise that this is a safe place for everybody in TRPC and here in the session tonight. So any form of abuse or any form of disrespect will not be tolerated, and we are not above removing you from this panel. So once again, I want to thank everybody for being here. This is the first ever virtual festival for the Australian Muslim Writers Network, the Right Pen Collective. And tonight we're going to have a bit of fun with a children's panel with writers who are Muslim writing for children readership. It's really exciting because I have a soft spot for the kids' books. I love it. I love this. So I'd like to introduce you to my guest this evening. First, I'd like to introduce you to Ozge Sevindik Alkan. She's the co-author of this amazing book here called Hijabi Girl. And she's also the co-founder of TRPC, which is Right Pen Collective. You'll hear from Ozge very shortly. I'd also like to introduce you to probably one of the coolest guys I've ever met, Brother George Greene. He's not just an author, he also co-authored a book with his young daughter, and he also created a card game. How awesome is that? There we go. We've got a coloring book in the screen. I also have his book here, No Ordinary Day. Welcome, Brother George. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to the debut author, Tamara Haque. She put together this amazing book called 20 Mighty Muslim Heroes, which I'm going to show here through the screen because I only had an e-copy of this book, so bear with me. But that's what it looks like there, stories of 20 mighty Muslim heroes. My physical copy is coming. That's what it looks like there. And I think we've got a few copies of that. Oh, there we go. I flashed that for a sec, but I think we had a few copies floating around. Thank you so much for being here, Tamara. To the three of you, welcome. Thank you for being here. You're not just our guests, but you're friends of ours, and you're also one of our original members. So welcome. So good to have you all here. Assalamu alaikum to the three of you. Okay, first things first, I need to get you to properly introduce yourselves to our viewers. Ozge, if I can start with you as you're our co-founder of TRPC. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you've done to date.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Merhaba. Hello. I am so excited to be here. This is quite incredible to be here. I'm talking to you from the lands of the Burundiger people, and I wish to acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land that I raise my children, live and play. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. And I am, I guess, the person that got struck with the idea of the Right Pen Collective, and followed by a phone call to us and Ilhan, and another phone call to, yep, there she is. And another phone call to Annie, and the Right Pen Collective was born. And it was Asen who came up with the idea. She went like, You walk in any supermarket anywhere in Australia, you will find Vegemite. That's how I want books by Muslim Australians to be. And I said, excellent. That's what that's going to be our vision. So that's how we ended up with the Right Pen Collective. I am also the author of Hijabi Girl, and I see Hazel and Serena there. Hi guys, that's my team. And I'm happy to report that I am actually a published author now, because our book has been picked up by the Muslim publisher, Alligator. And I have something exciting. Should I do it now?
We'll do this towards the end because I want this to go out with a bang. Right. Yes.
Towards the end, I have something exciting to share with you all. And we're going to
make everyone stay to the end.
Yes, and I will promise I will do this because my daughters are going to watch this recording and they're going to ask why I didn't mention them. So I would like to thank my daughters, Faiza and Nina, for going to bed at a reasonable time so I could do this. Thank you guys so much for going to bed.
Oh, they've been immortalized. I love it. Yes, no, we have to get everyone to stay to the end because we've got something very special to show you with regards to Hijabi Girl. But one thing that we also want to mention is that Hijabi Girl is now being adapted to a puppet show, and the trailers have gone viral. Watch out for that. Oh my God, as a Muslim growing up in Australia, I have a soft spot for Sesame Street and the Muppets, and I've never once seen a hijab on a Muppet or a puppet. So it's very exciting for the adult/kid in me. I'm very excited. So congratulations, Iska. It's very exciting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you once again for being here. Brother George Greene, tell us a little bit about yourself and the fact that you co-authored a book with your young daughter. That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I am George Greene. I am a convert Muslim, converted to Islam 10 years ago. And I moved to Australia 5 years ago. And I have actually produced eight products. I have 2 card games that I created with my daughter and I. This is one. This is When I Grow Up, it's a memory card game. This is a card game called Animal Kingdom card game. This is my children's book series, Childhood Champions, I created in 2014. This is book 1, No Ordinary Day. Book 2, The Project. Book 3, Safety Patrol. I've also followed up, and everything is inspired through my daughter and her and I ideas together. She's 5. This is a coloring book. This is my other coloring book, When I Grow Up, and this is inspired by my daughter, Black is Beautiful. So for me, my niche, obviously, as you can see through my books, everything is based around diversity. I come from a diverse community in New York City, and you know, I'm in my wife is ethnic background, and my daughter is of an ethnic background. So I wanted to concentrate on putting products out there for diverse children that are not as represented as others. So, you know, my niche basically is based around highlighting communities that are, in my books, I highlight the African community, African-American, Malaysian, Puerto Rican, Arab, and, you know, communities that are not really overly represented. So I try to step out of those and highlight these things in a positive light, so to speak. But yeah, so I've been published since 2016, and alhamdulillah, inshallah, this year I will have 2 new books coming and published before the 1st of January. And yeah, I won't tell everything. I'll leave some things for people to ask questions, but that's a snapshot of me and my children's space.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Can you see I'm totally fangirling about the fact that the rest of your series is going to come out very soon.
Yeah.
I'm just going to post a very quick photo of No Ordinary Day for people to see that at home in case you missed it. So that's the first book of the Childhood Champions series. I've read that myself. Yes, I know it's for 6 to 12-year-olds, but I'm going to read that. And it's just probably one of the best books I've ever read, I have to say, because I was asking myself, where was this book when I was growing up? And what I love so much about this book is it's unapologetically Muslim, And they just happen to also just be kids who also love sport. They go out to, you know, do their stuff day to day, but they're very unapologetically Muslim. And there's a lot of references and, you know, the MashaAllahs, the Subhanallahs, and the Assalamu alaikum. So it's amazing. So that's what that looks like. Thank you so much, Brother George. Last but not least, our debut author of the year, Tamara Haque. You've done an amazing job with this non-fiction book that you've released for children. I might just put that up there first. Let me just double check that 1 second. Sorry. Sorry, it's a lot of fingers here because I'm using a screen. So this is Tamara's book, Stories of 20 Mighty Muslim Heroes. It's a compilation of short stories. I'm going to let Tamara talk to you about herself and this book that she's produced. Take it away, Tamara.
Thank you for having me here today. Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here at the first Aussie Muslim Writers Festival. So just a little about me. I am originally Bangladeshi, but I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and then I lived in Malaysia for a bit, and I finally moved to Australia for my postgrad and decided to make Australia my home. So I've had different experiences as a Muslim, having been brought up, you know, in Muslim majority countries, and then spending a lot of my adult life in Australia. So I work in the public sector. And during the pandemic last year, I actually wanted to write a children's book for a while, but it's the pandemic that gave me that push that I needed a creative outlet. And so I did some research. I was actually talking to some friends about Muslim figures that we know about. And we realized that, you know, outside the Prophet Muhammad SAW and the main companions that we know about, there aren't really that many books for children that address Muslim figures. And so I decided that, okay, I'll write one on my own, and took the self-publishing route because I had the idea. I just wanted to get it out as quickly as I could. And that's the route I decided to take. And alhamdulillah, 3 months ago, I published Stories of 20 Mighty Muslim Heroes.
Mabruk. Congratulations. You know, one of the things that I love about this group is just how diverse that we are. Like, I'm just looking at just the screen here, like with Ozge, with her Turkish background coming from America, George is from America, and then obviously with Tamara being Bangladeshi, but also Saudi Arabian upbringing. I'm Indonesian Australian, and I was brought up here. So we're incredibly diverse. I think we've got the best of both worlds here. So I just wanted to remind
everyone. Can I say something?
Yeah, Ozge, go ahead. Yeah.
My daughter, the first couple of nights that my older daughter, the first couple of nights that the book came, she actually slept with it under her pillow, pulling in her Muslim princess book in case her little sister got her hands on it. And she did it so well, I actually don't know where my physical copy of the book is. So I went to Better Read Than and our festival partner Better Read Than books to order an additional copy so I can have a physical copy of the book, because I have no idea where she hid it.
It's mine.
Exactly, but this is how much she wanted to see herself in a book, and we went through the book, and I'm just amazed, and it just made me so proud being a librarian. Who was the librarian, Tamara?
Lubna of Cordoba.
Yes, and it's like, yes, the first librarian was a Muslim woman, people. So, you know, I'm not this abnormality hanging out in the library space. We were here before, so just amazing.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, Ozge. I'm glad that you mentioned that you need to get another physical copy, because that was the perfect segue to what I was just about to say, and that was to remind everybody of our festival partners, Better Read Than Dead. They're an amazing bookstore based in Newtown in Sydney. I used to frequent that bookstore BC before COVID, but you can actually get copies of our guests' books. You need to go online. They actually have dedicated a space for this particular festival for all the books that are written by our guests tonight. So go on there, grab a copy. It's free shipping. How good is that?
No minimum. I double tested it. No minimum. They'll send you any book you want for free. So please.
I know.
I actually had a few people approach me. I had like 3 or 4 messages going, oh, can we donate here to your group? And I said, thanks. We're not really set up for donations, but just buy our books.
Buy the
there's
book.
a question here saying what are these of bookshop. I think Ahsen is going to pop it in the comments.
Ahsen may have done that already. Yeah.
They're in.
Yeah, it's in there.
Yep.
There we go.
They're independent bookstore set in Sydney, and one of their employees who's also Muslim, what a happy place to be, has set up this space for our festival. So that is absolutely the best way you can support us, is to buy our books. It will show the publishers, so the Muslims who are published in mainstream media, it will show that there's an interest in these kinds of books. And to the self-published authors, it is so difficult and costs so much money to get self-published. So it will give them a boost, showing that there's interest in their books. So that's the best way. If you want to read more books like this, you got to buy these books, and there will be more, inshallah.
Yes. And just to add to that, like Tamara's book is obviously nonfiction. It's a compilation of books, of stories, I should say, written by unknown or forgotten heroes that are outside of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in terms of children's books as well, they're not just about struggle. It's not just about identity. It's not about trying to navigate as a Muslim in the Western world. They are unapologetically Muslim kids that just want to be themselves. And it also brings me to conversations I've had over time with people. They ask me, oh, you're a Muslim woman. You can drive, you're allowed to drive, and you're allowed to work. And I'm like, you understand we're just people, right? Like a lot of these things that you hear is either propaganda or, you know, cultural differences or something, but not necessarily representative to Islam. And I see these in the books, particularly with Hijabi Girl, particularly with No Ordinary Day. They're just kids that happen to be Muslim, and they are very proud of that. And I think that's amazing. So here's a question for the panel. Why children's books? What was the attraction for you? Like George mentioned, you like to work with your daughter and, you know, empower through that way. But is there another reason deep down in your heart why you chose the children readership? Either one can take this one. Don't go all at once.
All right, I'll talk. Hello, hi. Oh, this is my 8-year-old, and I love the Mighty Muslim Heroes. This is the message that came through.
Oh, we got messages coming through already. Thank you.
So I'm just going to speak for Tamara because she found this gap in the market that we did not have this book. And what I love about Tamara is, other than her words, the illustrations just pop out at you. I saw my daughter just gawking at these, you know, Muslim. Anyway,
thank you.
why children's? It's because it still saddens me as well, because if you look at the back of this book, there, that girl you see strapped to my chest is my older daughter, and she is 6 years old now. And in that 6 years, the only other books in this space are Brother George's book, and now, thank God, Tamara's book is now here. And there's nothing else.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
That's why we went ahead.
Oh, we have a cameo. We have a cameo.
Shut up.
Sorry, Amina is George's daughter, and she co-authored books with her father, and she's here. She's just popped in to say hi. Hi. Oh, she's very excited. Sorry. Oh, you're on mute, George. Sorry, you're just on mute.
Yeah, she just wanted to see what I was doing.
Well, she's the co-author. She belongs in this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's the co-author.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail and off track, guys.
Not at all. She's a childhood champion as far as I'm concerned. Alhamdulillah. But you're right, Ozge, you are 100% right. And I wanted to add to that because we discussed this on our opening festival with Dr. Randa Abdel Fattah. And, you know, for those who don't know me, outside of TRPC, I've actually founded a group called Readers Review. I founded that about 12 years ago because I'm an avid reader. I'm a blogger. I love connecting with readers and authors and the like. And, you know, from that time right up until now, Randa was the only Muslim author I knew in Australia, and Ozge was the second one. So, and that, how long ago? That's 12 years since I've been running Readers Review. So that's what I'm saying. It's really sad that we didn't see so many. And that was what I guess echoes, you know, Ozge's thoughts in terms of, you know, creating this network. It's like, well, I'm pretty sure there's more than just myself and Randa Abdel Fattah here in Australia, because as you can see with my bookshelf, this is my international Muslim books collection. And that's pretty much only 5 years old. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's a lot coming out from the market overseas, but where are the Australians? Like, we didn't know where they were. And Ozge was my second. And now we've got George, now we've got Tamara in the children's space. I'm loving it.
There's Inda as well.
Yes.
She's in the audience.
Inda is here, and Malati, I think, is here as well. Our guest for future panels this week. It's very exciting. It's growing. It's really growing. Yes. So just going back to children's books, like Tamara, let's start with you. Your inspiration. Now, you recognized a gap. So was there a particular reason why you went with nonfiction rather than creative writing, or did you want to just educate more so than entertain?
Yeah, I think for me, I wanted to write something that would be inspirational to kids. And so, as you said, we didn't have such books growing up. And Dr. Randa Abdul Fattah does my head look big. And this was the first book I read with a Muslim character. And that was, I think, in my final year of school. So I think I was 17 when I read that book. And that was the first Muslim character that I read of. So I guess I want to help change that. And also, children are very easily impressionable. When you think of behaviors like bigotry, these are all learned behaviors. And I'm of the belief that if exposing children to such diverse and inclusive books from a young age would help them in growing up to become empathetic and inclusive people as well. So that was, I think, the main motivation for me to write a book like this. And also because as Ozge mentioned, I wanted kids to feel seen in the book. We know about all these famous scientists and explorers, Marco Polo, we know Galileo, but we've got a Muslim explorer who explored 40 countries, and his name was Ibn Batuta. And then we've got Ibn Sina, the father of modern medicine, who aren't that well known. So just bringing these famous and forgotten heroes from our history and bringing them to the forefront, I think is motivational and inspirational for kids. And also, there are all these misconceptions that, excuse me, Annie, that you mentioned, we were asked, well, can you work or can you drive or can girls get an education? But, well, you know what? The oldest running university in the world was actually founded by a Muslim woman. So yes, we can get an education. So these are the sort of things that I wanted to bring into light and change misconceptions in the process. And that's how Stories of 20 Mighty Muslim Heroes was born. And that's, and that's why I hope to continue writing children's books. Actually, I'm writing the second book in the series. And that's going to be more to do with contemporary heroes. There will be some from the past, but more from the 20th and 21st century.
Oh, we're looking forward to that. And Tamara, that's amazing and very true what you said in terms of like educated women. Like one of the things that I think are most forgotten, particularly among the community, is that the first woman who embraced Islam was our Prophet's wife. And she was a businesswoman, highly intelligent. And she was the Prophet's senior, and there's just a lot of misconception out there. And I believe truly with what you're trying to do, the three of you, you're starting at a younger level. I remember discussing this on another panel. There was this shout out or demand for anti-racist books or more diverse books, but for the adult readership. For me, I'm thinking when you get to the adult readership, it's too late. You need to start when they're younger so they can grow up and understand that there's certain things that are not okay and certain things that are correct and not correct, etc. So yeah, 100%. It's really good that you get them started when they're younger, inspire them. And then when you're like me and you're reading some of the mighty Muslim heroes, you're kicking yourself. How did I not know who this person was? Because I did. I kicked myself 100%. Ozge wanted to say something. Go for it.
There was just a comment mentioning Inda's absolutely beautiful book Saleh, and yes, absolutely, we're so happy that book exists. Alhamdulillah, it was actually published by a major publisher, and she has another book on the way, Night Lights. But what I wanted to point out is that is the picture book space, which is there is a few more picture books. So when I was looking at my space, because I was an Islamic school librarian, I wanted books for kids that wasn't picture books, but that wasn't young adult fiction either. So there were some Muslim heads in picture books, but I was more looking for kids, that are in like, grade 3, grade 4, that outgrew that chapter book age, but still too old, too young for those novel kind of things. That's why what this panel is for, that kind of readership. So about maybe 7, 8, 9, up to 10-year-old or so. I mean, obviously older people can read it as well. So yes, in that space, Amran will be here and Amal will be here for the sold out picture book panel. So if you got a chance to book for your tickets there, you will see them talking about their picture books. We also had a middle grade panel with Huda Hayek and Malati. Well.
Yeah. So that, they're very different areas. It's different spaces and quite unique to each other. And that brings me to the next question. And Brother George, I'd like to bring you in on this conversation as well. Writing for children is a very specific skill. If you're anyone like me, I'm a content person. Trying to get something quite short is very difficult. And that's why I'm struggling in terms of trying to write my own, little book as well, because I'm a content person. Can you walk us through your creative process when you wrote No Ordinary Day and how you got it to that content and that level?
Yeah, so to be honest, I just understood that children's attention span is always quite short. So I figured that I would always keep, my stories are normally between 2,000 to 2,500 words, because what happens is the book gets extended once you add the illustrations to it. So I normally have about 18 illustrations total. So 2 of those illustrations will be front cover, back cover, and 16 illustrations. So the book normally comes out to about 54 pages. And, and normally that's quite solid for 6 to 12-year-olds attention span. It's a good read. They feel confident. They feel they feel really good when they complete the book. The pictures are attractive. And so for me, my process is, I just write things down. Things come to mind, I write them down and come back to them. Write them down, come back to them. I use experiences from me in the community. When I go to the mosques, things like that, I see things that happen and I create my own stories from them. I pay attention to the kids. This is kind of how I became a children's book author, from basically being active in the community, going to the mosque every day, but paying attention to what the young kids were reading. And I felt a bit inspired because I was like, wow, most of the kids that I noticed in my community reading books didn't represent the kids from my community. They represented, Arab kids in Saudi Arabia. They represented, white American kids. And I'm like, bro, this is Brooklyn. This is Harlem, New York. Like, this is, we're not on camels in the desert. So I felt that it was important for us to create stories to talk about things that represent us. We wear sneakers and regular t-shirt. We don't dress in cultural clothing. So I felt that it was a need for me to kind of give kids something to identify from where I'm from, So, it was just kind of like, wow, most of these kids are, now it's beautiful that these kind of books are out there. It just made me feel like the kids in my community didn't identify with these books. So, which is what inspired me to create No Ordinary Day, which is I took bits and pieces of experiences from the masjid, young people, participating in Quran, classes and competitions. So I just basically pieced different things together and created my stories on my own. Yeah, just real experiences that I had with a little bit of, just made up stuff from my own community.
That's so cool. I think Ozge and I cracked up laughing when there was that whole misconception of, oh, we ride camels. I wish.
I mean, that wasn't a generalization, but it was just like, all the books mostly they were reading represented like, being in the desert. There were always camels and things like that. And I'm like, yo, this is Brooklyn, New York. Like, this is, we don't represent that. So I wanted to kind of like move towards things that represent the children in the community where I'm from.
Yeah,
same.
I love that.
Same with Hijabi Girl, because like I said, I work in an Islamic school, and every day I'm seeing these young girls go around in their hijabs doing everything that an average Aussie kid would do, and I'm looking at the books that I have available to give to these kids, and it's like they can't see themselves in these books. They're not in it. As much as it's important to have, have the stories of, refugees and asylum seekers and people that are new to the country. I was a child migrant as well. Their stories are extremely important as well. But what is it doing to the kids? Sorry.
Oh, we had a comment come through from the
One of my ex-students
audience.
just popped up here.
Ozge saying Ozge's the best librarian ever, and I believe you. I believe you. We've lost Ozge. We've just lost Ozge for a second there. Sorry.
Yes.
She'll be back shortly. I think the light just went out where she was.
Yes.
That's okay. We're with you.
No, my electricity cut out actually. Good thing I have the spare lights. SubhanAllah. Out of all the things I prepared for, I didn't prepare for electricity cutting out.
Wow. Oh, live television is going wonderfully.
Okay. So yes, this is what I was saying. It's like and not just for the Muslim kids as well, for the other kinds of kids as well. Like when they're reading books, and if all they see of Muslim kids are kids, you know, that are shy and, you know, that are learning to speak English and, you know, are struggling, what are they going to think growing up about Muslims, that they're just, you know, this other population who are, you know, don't really fit in with anybody else, that they don't really have an identity of themselves outside of, you know, whatever box they're trying to put us in.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. I hear you. I hear that. And that's the one thing I loved so much about Hijabi Girl, because when I read that, although that's about soccer and something else, I'm a very big NRL fan. I grew up in Australia. I go for the Parramatta Eels. I love my football. I played football as a kid. And, you know, people, you know, don't see that in me. And people often get surprised when they're like, you're a hip hop fan? You like hip hop R&B? I'm like, yeah. Like that's the music that I loved when I was in high school, like the old school stuff. They just don't see it. They think there's this misconception that we're not into that stuff either. But yeah, I love my footy as well. That's what I love so much about Hijabi Girl too. We've just had some questions come through the audience. I don't want to miss anybody. So thank you for your comments and questions that are coming through. Sorry, I'm just getting my chat to work here. One question came through early. I'm just going to try to, I remember the question, but I just want to make sure I got the person's name correct. I think it just came directly to me. Oh, okay. So we went to Ozge first and then it went to me. So the question was for the panel. Sorry, where is it? Oh, so sorry, everybody. It was here and then it was gone, but it was with regards to self-publishing. So I remember the question. So whoever sent that question through, thank you. So there is often a misconception that people go into self-publishing simply because you can't get traditionally published. But in terms of when I've spoken to indie publishers and self-published authors, it's not necessarily the case. You actually make a conscious decision to do that because you have more control over what happens with your work, from the art to the publication and the like. What is your take on that in terms of self-publishing? And that's to the panel. So Ozge, Tamara, George.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm a big fan of being published. Alhamdulillah, I'm actually published, but I can say that it was quite a journey to try to get backing from a publishing company, because it took me at least between 80 and 100 attempts to reach out to publishing companies, Muslim, non-Muslims, in Saudi Arabia, the UK, America, Canada. There were countless reasons of why they didn't want to support the projects. And then the ones that were interested, they wanted to just kind of alter the stories, alter the characters. And then I thought that would be taken away from my authenticity. So I just decided to wait until I can find someone that was genuinely allow me to tell my stories. And then, you know, it was just publishing companies not really interested in, they don't know how to market and promote Muslim books. Some were just honest saying, look, I'm uncomfortable really like dealing in that space. I don't really know how to maneuver Muslim content, etc. Some were just like, look, you know, I'd like to change the stories. And sometimes these are from non-Muslim, you know, owners or representation. So I just decided to wait. And it took me from 2014 to 2016 to find the right fit. And that basically came with me not being too hasty and just making the decision and altering the vision that I had with the characters and the stories. I wanted to wait because this is my vision. This is what I want to put out to the world. And I wasn't willing to sacrifice any adjustments for that. So I'm a strong believer in publishing because they are the machine. You know, they know the steps. They just made it easier for me. And I would have rather just pay the money versus because I do know people who self-published, and I know a lot of horror stories and very few success stories, but that's just me.
That's actually quite sad what you said there, George, in relation to publishers or people are just not willing to pick up stories from Muslim people. Is it because they think it's not going to sell, that we don't have the readers? Because I can tell you the readership is there. It's
Yeah.
not that they don't
Well,
exist. People want to read this stuff, Muslim
well,
and non-Muslim alike. Yeah.
no one necessarily said that. They just would give different excuses. We're not looking for authors at the moment. Some would say, look, we don't have any books by Muslims. We don't know what to do with them. Some just simply didn't give any reason and say, we're just not interested. And again, there were just a few that was like, hey, we're interested, but we'd like you to change the story. We'd like you to change this character. And I said, absolutely not. Thank you. And I'll keep going. I didn't want to change it because now
stand your ground.
this is your vision and not my vision anymore.
True. That is very true. Tamara, can I bring you into this conversation? What was it like for you when you published 20 Mighty Muslim Heroes? Did you face that sort of challenge as well, being a Muslim? And it's not creative writing in your sense. This is like an actual educational piece that you're trying to get out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was doing my research to find books that are already published, so there are two that I found. They're very popular. That have to do with Muslim heroes. So I got copies of them and I read through them. They're beautifully written and they highlight so many amazing Muslim figures. But my issue with them was that, so they separate the Muslim person from Islam. So, they write about them as characters who just happen to be Muslim. But say when you're looking at representation in media, when you're talking about Muslims and the negative portrayals, it's Muslims and Islam that are portrayed negatively together. So so that's the issue now. If you were to traditionally publish, these are the sort of issues that you'd have to deal with. And so when I was actually, Annie, you're part of this, part of my launch team. So when I had sent out my ARC for my advanced reader copy for reviews, I did get one or two comments, actually pretty detailed feedback saying that, well, this is not the sort of book I expected. You should have a clear disclaimer in the beginning that you're talking about Islam. You're trying to proselytize people. I would not recommend this book to anyone. So that I did get some feedback like that. And that's what I told her as well, that, for these people, they are Muslim, and whatever they did, it came from their faith in Islam as well. And I want to highlight that, and I wanted to change these misconceptions that people have. So traditionally, big publishers, they probably would not go for a book like that, and which is why I decided to take the self-publishing route, so that I would have, as Brother George said, you'd have full control over your stories and say it as you wanted to say. So that has been, So, but those are just very few. There have been very few negative feedback in regards to the book. Most of it, not just Muslims, but from people of diverse faiths and backgrounds who said that, I would like to have this, I'm going to include it in my classes. So there were teachers, there were librarians, and they said, there's so much that we don't know and which is not talked about in books or in media. And it's been really good to read about these heroes. And it's not just kids, it's also, parents, it's teachers, it's librarians, educators, principals that have said, that have given all this positive feedback. So there's definitely the need for it. But because there are all these perceptions in the traditional publishing industry, I mean, we have that in visual media as well. People will think that the only stories we're looking for are to portray that women are being oppressed. A woman is, or a woman gets freedom when she takes off her hijab. Or, she does it for love and she has to take her hijab off for love. So these are sort of portrayals that we continuously have. And I guess that's why we need these authentic own voices, and which come from, these days you'll see so many books that are either self-published or, they're by indie publishers, because these indie publishers, they have a more conscious approach to publishing, I suppose. And so they're bringing out so many Muslim books now. I mean, we've got them all over the world. And so we are getting these voices now, which is great. And I guess now the traditional publishers are also realizing that there is a market for them. And they're also starting to publish more of these books that we need for kids and for adults. Yeah.
I love how you I love how you were told you needed to put a disclaimer. Oh, I'm sorry, just
Yeah.
FYI, this is a Muslim book. Like, you need to disclaim everything. We have a question that's come in from the audience, and then our co-founder Arkson would like to ask a question. So I'll ask this one, and then I'll hand over to Arkson. So this direct question's come through. I don't have a name for the questioner, sorry, but the question is, my 13-year-old daughter is drafting her own first fiction. Her avatar is early teen young readers. I already connected her with a book coach and mentor. Can you please share some stories and motivation for early young writers like her? Become a writer along with becoming public speaker and interior designer are part of her dreams. So I'm trying my best to support her in this space. So yes, I guess in a nutshell, advice or tips that you might have for young aspiring writers. Go team. Go forth and discuss.
Oh, that made my day. And a really big thing happened today, but I'll start it to Liam, but that absolutely made my day. Look, we spoke to Randa Abdel Fattah earlier in the week, and she's the one that said, you know, it was the 16-year-old Randa that wrote, "Does my head look big in this?" So 13 is not too young to get started. And nope.
Neither is 5 apparently. George knows this.
No, there's some exceptional kids there. But look, the advice I would give to you is, look, if you're listening to this, we're talking about, you know, the difficulties in publishing. I mean, you know, Hijabi Girl, we got I think 40 or 41 knockbacks from publishers, which was kind of fascinating to Hazel. That's my co-author, Hazel Edwards. She's the author of
Hi, Hazel.
very well loved. I know she's here. We know there's a hippopotamus on Earth eating cake was this publication for 40 years.
Best book ever.
She has 200 books published, and she said, Ozge, I have never seen anything like that.
So go forth and write is what I say.
So
Look,
what I
we're
would tell
hearing
you
a
is,
lot of
don't let this talk discourage you.
That's right.
Because your voice matters. Your stories matter. There are kids, there's people that need to read your stories. So go keep writing, keep learning this craft. Don't be too interested in just getting published, because focus on just learning to write well and read, because I'm a librarian, I'm expected to say that. But any author you speak to who's good at what they're doing, they will tell you this. Just read widely, read as much as you can. And you're born at such a lucky time where there is so much young adult books that are coming out now. So read Muslim voices, but then read other voices as well. So I would say learn the craft of writing as much as you can, and then just keep reading.
Yeah, read widely, read diversely, and also don't be afraid to speak your voice as a Muslim writer, because these are stories that need to be heard. And, you know, we've heard the challenges that we've faced as writers. I'm an emerging writer. I'm still writing my first own voice middle grade book that's representing and paying homage to my West Java culture, my West Java culture in Indonesia, as well as, you know, being a Muslim character. But what you see today are 3 published authors. So that goes to show that it's not impossible. So it can be done. It will be done. It just takes a bit of time and hard work. And so go forth and write. Keep it going. It's exciting. Arkson, if you can hear me, please ask your question.
Okay. Thank you to George and Ozge and Tamara. But, you know, Hazel in the comments mentions distribution. So apart from that being a problem as to why we can't penetrate into the mainstream publishing industry, also, would you think that maybe our stories is not contextual enough, like in the Australian landscape? Maybe our characters need to be more in line with our icon, you know, the landscape, the Australian landscape, you know, the identity of the Australian in a beautiful combination with the Muslim identity. Could that be another factor why we can't penetrate into the why the mainstream publishing industry is so afraid of publishing Muslim authors?
Good question. I don't know. Well, George mentioned earlier that there was this misconception of, you know, how Muslims acted, and he was saying, no, we need to show like people in Brooklyn and Harlem, they don't look like this. But I guess, you know, coming from America, was there a hesitancy at all? Because you're published in America too. Was there a hesitancy there?
Well, for me, like, I must say that I honestly, none of these things ever crossed my mind. I just create things that I'm passionate about and things that represent what I want them to represent, and whomever wants to support that, alhamdulillah, they support it. I don't create my content for just a Muslim or this one or that one. So I just basically create what's on my heart, create what I'm driven by, and put out clean content that has a positive message that's not overly Islamic, that other people that are non-Muslim can read. And then it gives life lessons. It talks about brotherhood, teamwork, promotes safety, reading, sports, value system. And I just put out things for young people to benefit from. I don't really approach the things that I create based off of like whether they'll work in Australia, whether they'll work in, you know, Saudi Arabia. I just basically create what's on my heart personally.
Yeah. Tell the story you want. Tamara,
Tell the
same
story I want.
situation?
Yeah.
Same situation for you, Tamara?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with George. Yeah.
What he said. What he said.
Yeah. I mean,
it's very true.
There's also there's things that I forgot to mention in reference to my books, the things that I create that I wanted to mention briefly. So just for the listeners out there, my books are not they're not religious books. So basically, my books are all teach a valuable lesson. The characters of the books are Muslim, but the stories are non-religious. So it has a very strong Islamic theme to it because of the characters, and I use, you know, mashallah, subhanallah, all of these things in it. But the stories, if you look at the reviews on Amazon, you'll see a lot of non-Muslims support my books and say, wow, you know, I bought this book, you know, and it was a great read to introduce religion to my children, etc. So as I mentioned to you guys earlier, my niche is to kind of represent diversity and represent, I intertwine a lot of things that are important in my life. For example, I'm of African descent. So I'll just give you one example. This is a card from my card game, Animal Kingdom. So you see this card. These different shapes and sizes are a mixture of two tribal kingdoms in South Africa that I mixed together that has a strong meaning behind them. The Indubele and the Zulu kingdom, I mixed them together and there's a meaning behind them. So everything I create has a connotation attached to my daughter, attached to Africa, and attached to people of color. So this is the most powerful card in the deck, and it's my daughter, Queen Amina. It represents my daughter. So of course, you know, this is just another thing for my daughter's psyche to see that I'm always holding her high on a pedestal to represent her. This is like the Joker card in the card deck. So within that deck, I have the chief, represents another cultural thing that ties back to my culture, ties back to my African roots. You know, this card game here, everything is based off of representation to little, you know, Latin kids, Black kids, so they can see themselves with in different careers and things like that. Like, I'll give you this one. So this is my card game, When I Grow Up. So When I Grow Up is a memory card game. So this represents multiple different careers that we don't normally see ourselves in. So when they play this game, I want them to see that they represent, we can be the president of the United States. We can be the president of any country. Within this card game, I have a female as the president. So the woman is the top of the food chain for me. My daughter is my biggest motivation, and she is my representation. So in saying all of that, everything I make is attached to diversity, Africa, or something for children of color to change the thinking and the psyche of, like, you know, we have to play basketball or some kind of sport for us to be recognized. And a lot of times we have to be hip hop artists or athletes. And I don't like that. So my job and my role was to create different things to represent beauty, career, and has a powerful story attached to everything I create.
Oh, that's amazing. You're so inspirational, Brother George. That's why
Thank
we're
you.
like your biggest fans. Thank you. And
MashaAllah.
we're Amina's biggest fans too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have one question that's come through from the audience. That will be the last question I can take because we do have to wrap this up very shortly. Then I've got a couple of fun things I'd like to do with our authors, and then of course Ozge's special thing that we promised that we'd save for last. So the last question that came through was from, oh, it's my friend Jeremy Lachlan. Hi, Jeremy. He's the author of Jane Doe and the Cradle of the All World. Thank you so much for being here. He has a question for Tamara. Tamara, who's your favorite hero and what was the most surprising thing you learned while researching for your book? Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks for the question, Jeremy. You're going to make me think a lot now. I don't know if I can choose. I don't know if I can choose just one because they're all so different and they're all from very different backgrounds. But I guess if I were to choose, maybe I can name top three.
Yeah, we can let you do top three. We'll let you get away with that.
All right. So one of my favorites is actually she's a lady of Bengali background. Her name is Begum Rokeya. She was a Muslim feminist. She actually wrote a satire similar to Handmaid's Tale, actually, back in the 19th century. And she was an advocate for girls' education. And she opened the first Muslim girls' school in Calcutta in the 19th century. And she actually went door to door to particularly Muslim parents, Muslim families' homes, to get them to basically to encourage them to send their daughters to school. Yeah, so she's amazing. Another favorite of mine is Ibn Batuta. I mentioned him earlier. He traveled to 40 countries and he wrote this amazing book, which I haven't read. It's called the Al-Rihla. And it's just fascinating because he went to all these countries across the Middle East, Africa, Asia, Southeast Asia. And just his experiences and his perceptions, you know, he wasn't trying to be condescending with any of them, with any of the cultures. He was conscious that, you know, there are all these different cultures around. Not all of them were Muslim, but he found that people were hospitable, people were kind, people, you know, there were all these common factors amongst cultures, and I think he was also fascinating. And Lubna of Cordoba, I guess she's also, as Ozge mentioned, yeah, I think she's also fascinating because she was actually born as a slave, and she was very intelligent. So she was actually welcomed into the Sultan's court, and then she rose to the ranks to become the head librarian or the librarian of the Royal Library. And she actually used to travel through different countries to collect manuscripts and rare books. And not only that, she was also a math genius. She was a polymath. She used to translate Greek texts into Arabic. So it's just fascinating. I mean, I could probably talk about all of them, but I'll just keep it to those three.
I'm just saying, you made Ozge's night. Like, you chose her idol. I love it. If I could just throw one in there, and yeah. Sorry, forgive me, Tamara, I can't remember if I read this in your book or another story, but I have to say one of my favorite Muslim heroes, I have to mention this, Hawla binti al-Azwar, if I've said that correctly, the first female warrior. And the reason I mention her is because a lot of people remember the Mulan story, how she dressed up as a male to fight, you know, for her father. This was like the first female warrior, like an Islamic warrior, that she dressed up as a male to save her brother from behind enemy lines. Like, she's one of my favorites, Hawla binti al-Azwar. Like, please read her story.
Yeah, she went into the front lines as a woman, and she defended Prophet Muhammad on more than one occasion. When she saw that he was injured, she was there ready to give her life for him. And I mean, people used to think that it was a man fighting, but then they'd finally see her face and she'd see that she was a woman.
It's my ultimate like Muslim Mulan story. It's my favorite.
It's just so gorgeous to read these stories because, you know, our stories have just been erased throughout. They haven't forgotten. And, you know, again, it's like, you know, what are these, you know, my daughter could, you know, read these stories and be aware of it. So when they're hearing about, you know, oh, you know, Islam and the Dark Ages. It's like, hold up, we're the first librarians. You know, we are the first women's, you know, the university. The first
created algebra.
Exactly.
Algebra came from us, everyone. Sorry about
so
that.
Like, our history has been
coffee.
yeah, exactly, and we're still here. So this is why, like, Tamara's book is just mind-blowingly exciting, and it's almost sad in a kind of how excited we are for this book, like, because it's why should
I'm
it
just
be?
going to flash this again very quickly. This is Tamara's book. Yeah, it is available from Better Read Than Dead. So
and it's like, you know, why we shouldn't have to be this excited about this book, but we are, because nothing like it exists. You know, like stories of Muslims told by a Muslim from a Muslim perspective, you know, not from this, and like, you know, and Brothers George's books as well, you know, it's like we're, you know, it's the own voice that we're writing from, because when we're looking at, you know, stories that are written about Muslims, they're usually not written by Muslims. And and I want to say, people are like, well, why can't I write this character? Or what can I, if I do my research really well? That's not your story to tell.
Let us tell the story.
You're taking up the space that we could have by telling our own stories. You're taking up the space in the publishing industry. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I'm looking at some huge award-winning books. And I'm looking at who the authors are. And I'm like, why are you writing from, you know, Black immigrants' perspective if you're not that person? It's like you're taking up the space in the publishing world that could be taken up by a woman of color, a man of color, who's there to write their own story. And there's a ways of, you know, doing it respectfully, like Hazel and I, we co-authored this book because I initially asked Hazel, I guess I wasn't as well educated as I was back in. They actually asked Hazel to write this book. And Hazel, with her, in her experience, said, no, I'm not writing this book.
This is your story. You need to tell it.
She said, no, I'm not writing the story. So, and because I was really sort of new into writing in the children's space, we wrote it together. So yes, Hazel realized this wasn't her story to tell. So thank you, you know, Tamara, for writing the story. Thank you, George, for writing the stories.
Oh, and thank all three of you for writing your story, because I've made it my mission to have all of your books on my shelf. Like, I've already started with these two, and then Tamara's, I've actually got a physical copy coming my way now that I could get it. I'm very excited because it has to be in my shelf. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap this up. So I've got 3 fun questions, one each I'm going to ask each of you. Don't overthink it. Just give us a quick answer. And then Ozge wanted to do a very quick presentation, or not presentation, but she wanted to share something very quickly with you. So Tamara, I want to ask you, if you could meet one of the prominent figures that you have written about in 20 Mighty Muslim Heroes, and you could ask them one burning question, what would that be?
Oh, what's it? Wow. Did I have to go first?
Of course.
Would you like me to circle back?
That'd be good, actually. Give me a moment to think, please.
All right, I'll circle back. Brother George, you're on deck. If you could go to a football game with one of your childhood champion characters for a date, who would you like to hang out with and why?
When you say football game, like, do you mean?
I'll let it be a US football game if you like.
Yeah, I mean, because yeah, I'd say out of my children's books, I'd like to pick Malak, because Malak is of Puerto Rican background. She's a big fan of American football. You know, she loves the sport. She's a Hijabi girl, and she has a really big fun vibes to her, man, and she's quite active in the sports fan space. So I would pick her to hang out with. She represents with her jersey, as you guys call it, a Guernsey in this part of the world.
I say jersey.
Okay, cool.
I think it's Guernsey if it's AFL. I did research this with my husband.
I will show you a picture of
Rugby league AFL.
Yes.
That's a jersey with very baggy pants.
And Malak is Melek.
Yeah.
In Turkish, Malak is Melek.
Who is Hijabi Girl in her book? Great choice, Brother George. Tamara, can we circle back to you? Have you got your answer?
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
I would probably meet Fatima Al-Fihri, so the founder of the oldest running university, and I'd ask her, you know, where do you think we went wrong?
How much time you got? That's a good one. I love it.
Yeah.
That's so good. Last but not least, thank you, Tamara. Last but not least, Ozge, I have a question for you, and then I want you to share your special thing that you'd like to show us. If you had a chance to hang out with Melek, who is the Hijabi girl in your book, for book week, which of you, or both of you, would cosplay as what character? Who would you guys cosplay as for book week together?
Oh my God, I wish I was cool enough like Melek, because I cannot kick a footy to save my life. And I have to give my husband credit for all the footy references, because we have Hijabi Girl 2 and 3 coming. And he actually wanted producer credit, because I was asking him so many questions about how this footy business works, so we could write an authentic book about footy.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'll probably just come as, Melek with one of the hijabs that I would decide, there's like Nike has made these, thing hijabs for the
How
Olympics.
cool are they?
Yeah, they're for the things, for the Olympic athletes. So I'll just, for cosplay, I'll just channel this person that I was just my alter ego. I would just come as Melek. And Melek, well, she wrote her own book, didn't she, to come as her own character? So,
She did, yeah. She ended up
She
being
really
super
did.
Hijabi girl. So
yes,
then you could be her sidekick. You could be Melek's sidekick. There
I
you
would
go.
be honored to be Melek and Tian's sidekick. That would be so cool. There's such, my characters are far cooler than me. And that's the best part about, writing fiction. You can sort of take your fantasy out for a ride and just write about these people who are just like so much more interesting than you.
That's why I love playing with fantasy. You can discuss very deep themes that need to be discussed through a fantasy or fiction lens.
Hazel saying Melek character is inspired by Ozge. Totally not.
Yes, we know she is.
Maybe the really talkative and the really forceful, bossy part of Melek.
And the fact that she likes books as well, definitely. But you can talk a lot through fiction. You can cover many deep themes, particularly in a children's space, to reach the audience and basically set a lot of records straight and, bust the misconceptions, which we're so sick and tired of trying to do ourselves. Ozge, we're going to do a little bit of a show and tell. Okay, do you want to say it?
Well, so our Hijabi Girl, so the beautiful blue cover that Serena did for us. Oh my God, this lighting is terrible.
Oh, that's all right. I've got, let me do the share screen. I've got it. So let's do it before. This is the before shot.
Wait for me. Yep, we sold 1,000 copies of this book just through sheer determination and grit and, publicity. And while I was working in Hume Libraries, because they have a copy of this book, I actually checked the statistics and it was borrowed 74 times. And I was like, but there's a publisher, like I said, Alligator picked us up and they actually said, okay, now we have your book. We want to make it ours. So Serena did a new cover for the book, and I want to do a cover review because
drum roll,
and the physical copy of this book was delivered by Brother Ahmed, the owner of Alligator Publishing, to my house about 3 hours ago. That's how
Can I share it?
To the bone. Hang on.
Are we everybody ready? Here we go. I'm going to share screen. I'll share screen.
Light. Yes, you put it up.
Share screen. Woo!
And you'll see it's a series now because there's 2 more books, inshallah, maybe even more on the way.
Yay!
Because Melek is going to get her footy team, inshallah.
Amen. Amen. There we go. That's our cover reveal. Congratulations. It's very exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, Ozge.
That is awesome.
Congrats, man. That's dope. That's real good.
That's so dope. I love it when he says that. It's
Can't wait for my copies, Ozge.
What is it?
We're waiting for.
I can't wait for my copies.
Oh,
Yeah.
inshallah. So if you wanted to purchase the original book, or as Annie would say, the OG, the OG book cover,
OG, yo.
don't do that.
Sorry. Yes, the original cover.
If you want to purchase,
so
I have actually, you'll see it on my Instagram page. I mailed out the last 5 copies I have. Other than this book, it was probably the last copies in existence that it has. So if you go to Better Read Than That, Better Read Than That.
Than Dead.
Dead.
BRTD, yes.
Sorry,
Better Read Than Dead. Have those copies, yes.
If you don't put in the comments saying what are the books called, I don't know what they're called. You don't need to know what they're called. If you go to that link, it's actually set up specifically for our festival. So all of the books, they're all there. And
yeah,
you can
go
just
to
check
our
us out this
socials.
Sunday.
We've got the link on our
Yes.
socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We do have links to Better Read Than Dead, and also our link tree has the link to Better Read Than Dead, the remaining panels that we have, and also a quick video that Ozge Malatilam and Inda Ahmed Zari and I did together as ambassadors for Australia Reads, if you want to catch up with that too. But unfortunately, this is where we have to leave it there. First of all, I want to thank all the viewers for being here, for your amazing questions and comments. I'd also want to send much love and salam and thank you to Brother George, to Sister Tamara, and to Sister Ozge for being my special guest for this Kids Lit panel. I had so much fun talking to the three of you. This was amazing. Much love. Thank you.
So much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, guys. And thank you to the audience. Thank you so much. I wish we had more time, but
yes,
we all are available for comments on social media. There's so much to share with my stuff, but thank you for all you listeners. Ladies, thank you for putting this incredible, festival together for us. Inshallah, there'll be bigger and more people involved, but thank you. Sister Tamara, thank you so much. Inshallah, we all meet again with this.
Inshallah,
we're just getting started. Inshallah,
just a seed.
Bismillah, this is, Allah has already taken this to places that I didn't even dream or think would possibly ever go to. We had an article in The Guardian.
I know, I saw that. Oh my!
Check our link tree for that. Yes, alhamdulillah.
Oh.
We're just getting started.
Thank
and
you.
just very quickly, Annie, sorry. There's a few questions that came in through comment asking specific questions about, self-publishing rates and all those things. We do have a private Facebook group called The Right Pen Collective, separate to our public page, where it's only for Muslim Australian writers. So just pop on through there and connect with us. It's a safe space and it's only for Muslim Australian writers. If you have a lot of self-published authors, they'll be more than happy to discuss those things with you.
Definitely reach out to us. If you had a question and we didn't get to answer you tonight, just reach out to us on social. One of us will get back to you, we promise, inshallah. So once again, thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Güle güle.